Hi, this is TheHande, and I'm doing something very special now. It's fan commentary on a video game movie, which is Super Mario Brothers, the infamous 1993 live-action movie. We are watching the Leitmotiv logo right now, and a movie which most people tend to or want to forget. But here I am doing a commentary on it anyway. But as a longtime Mario fan, I hope to sort of shine some light into, why the movie is the way it is. Bob Hoskins plays the lead role, and we're watching this computer animated intro. I have no idea why the intro is like this. My best guess, my only guess really, is that the directors of this movie, Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morden, made their name with the show, the cyberpunk show, Max Headroom, and I suppose they were big fans of this computer stuff, which is why they ended up doing the first video game movie. Luckily, most of the other special effects in this and animation in this movie is much better. The late Dennis Hopper is in this. And this is Don Castellano, the voice of Homer Simpson, as the opening narrator. And here we have the title screen. That's a really nice title screen, actually. Here what we're seeing now is probably, in my view, the best scene in the whole movie. I mean, this one it's dramatic. It's in the rain. It's pretty awesome. The music's pretty good. Yes, on the music, I have to say before I forget that, the music is composed by Alan Silvestri, who most of you will remember as the composer for the theme song of Back to the Future. Admittedly, a much better movie than this one, but I have to say, if there's one aspect of this movie that I don't have gripes with, it's probably the soundtrack by Alan Silvestri. Although, like a lot of video game movies, I wish they would have actually used more Mario music. Although there's some few incidental parts here. The Koopa jacket, she's wearing the Koopa jacket, so that's Daisy's mom. And, well, here's Alan Silvestri's credit. So the directors were Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morden. You may have not heard much from them since this movie was made. But in the 80s, in the late 80s, they created a show called Max Headroom, which was a cyberpunk, I guess sort of a detective cyberpunk sci-fi show, which revolved around this character of Max Headroom, which was a sort of virtual character. Sort of. It was actually an actor with makeup on to make it look like he was computer generated. And he actually, the character Max Headroom actually had his own talk show and everything. And oh, by the way, this is my favorite shot in the tunnel. This actually looks really nice. Like, this actually looks like this could have been a pretty awesome movie. Of course, it wasn't, but I like to quote, one of the few people who was not actually disappointed with the movie, surprisingly, was Mario's creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, who actually said that he thought it was a good movie, but the fact that it was tied to a video game was what weakened its impact in the public eye. And I tend to agree. And here's Dennis Hopper showing up, playing King Koopa. We'll talk a little bit about Dennis Hopper later in this commentary, but basically, yeah, I tend to agree with Shigeru Miyamoto's assessment that this movie in and of itself, is not bad, but it's so distanced from its source material that I think that's the big problem. Roland Jaffe is credited here as a producer. Actually, Jaffe even directed little bits of the movie. Like, I've heard that as many as 4 people technically directed it. One person who was a little embittered, or rather disappointed at the end product, was actually Bob Hoskins, who actually named this the worst movie he had ever done. And okay, well, he's free to his opinion. I mean, it's easy for me to talk. I mean, I'm watching this movie years from when it was originally came out. The reason Bob Hoskins was picked for the role of Mario, and I personally think he's a great pick for Mario, is that he had done a movie before this called Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And in case you did not know, Bob Hoskins, who we see here, his face is obscured, is actually British. But he played a sort of a hard American detective in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I guess that's what convinced him. I've heard, I have no way of confirming this, of course, but I've heard that Bob Hoskins actually beat Danny DeVito for this role. Personally, I think he's a good pick. John Leguizamo as Luigi. Luigi Mario, as we learn in this movie. Luigi, well, you'll notice that immediately the first thing is that he doesn't have a mustache. We have to remember, though, that at this point, first of all, John Leguizamo was probably the only actor who benefited greatly from this movie, was the fact that he got his name out there, and, yeah, the fact that the movie bombed did not affect his film career at all. And in fact, that's a big illusion people have, that an actor does one bad movie and his career is finished. Really, an actor's career depends solely on whether or not that actor himself is active. The only person who can ruin an actor's career is the actor himself. This conversation they're about to have about sea turtles, I think, is the filmmakers' ham-handed way of getting out of the way the whole issue that the Koopas were originally turtles and things like that. But yeah, as for why doesn't Luigi have a mustache, I think that's the first big question we have to answer is, well, for an actor in his 20s, and John Leguizamo was a stand-up comedian before this and still is, for him to grow a mustache for a film role like this, I mean, you can honestly imagine, he wouldn't have done it willingly. And this is nice. I love the first of all the fact that they have a van that actually says Mario Brothers on the side, and the fact that they have a bit of a quarrel with another company, the Scapelli Brothers. Although we only see Mr. Scapelli, we don't see his brother, unless it's that guy who's with him in the limo. Mr. Scapelli, by the way, you may have seen in a little movie called The Godfather. I'll leave it up to you to recognize who exactly who he played in that movie. And dinosaurs were a big thing in the early 90s, I remember. So, it's no wonder this movie emphasized it. I think overemphasized it quite a bit with all the archaeology and dinosaur bits. And here's the beautiful, and unfortunately very absent from major motion pictures, Samantha Mathis. Now, she is called Daisy, and I don't think we can blame the filmmakers for mixing up Princess Toadstool with Princess Daisy, because at this point they were effectively the same person, or nobody knew any different. So, and I think we can understand why they picked the name Daisy over Toadstool, because Peach, the name Peach, hadn't really appeared in the Western versions of Super Mario Brothers. Oh, Higgy and Spike. I love it. But yeah, ironically because, interestingly, that Daisy actually becomes Luigi's love interest in the movie, which, considering the games, is actually sort of correct. So, they might have done it by accident, but the filmmakers did get one thing about the Mario mythos right in this film. Iggy and Spike, I think, two of my favorite characters in the whole movie. And they're named, of course, after Spikeosaurus and Iggy, who is who's one of Koopa's children, one of the original Koopalings. In the movie, they establish that they're cousins of Koopa, which I guess is sort of their way of referencing that. I love this van, by the way. I don't know, there's something very old-timey and clunky about it that I like. And yeah, but you can tell this movie was perhaps a little too influenced by what the big trends were at the time, which was dinosaurs were a big thing. And I guess they used that as a way of justifying a lot of the stuff in this movie. I don't think it really worked, but okay, I'll take it. There were a lot of dinosaur movies in the 90s, I remember. Like, it kind of culminated with Jurassic Park, really. And it's not that the movie itself is very clunky or anything. You listen to some of the dialogue some of the dialogue in this movie. It's actually pretty good. I love it how Daisy just hangs up on the guy. Well, yeah, and but you look at a scene like this, and you think, wow, what does this have to do with Mario? Honestly. Besides Bob Hoskins there, besides the fact that there's a fat guy with a mustache called Mario fixing a van in the background, I don't think you would really guess. about what this would have to do with Mario. The plumber aspect is actually kind of interesting. It's something that didn't occur to me until later on, that Mario was a plumber in the video games, but only in one, Mario Brothers in 1984, and then it was kind of dropped entirely from Super Mario Brothers. Mario effectively became the Mickey Mouse of video games, so he became just a generic adventurer. But that plumber aspect, for some reason, American versions of Mario just always clung on to. You know, you see that in Super Mario Brothers Super Show and all the other Mario cartoons. But in Japan, you know, Mario was kind of looked upon as just a generic adventurer character, like the overalls, the Mickey Mouse gloves, and the cap. None of that really, like, suddenly said plumber to anybody in Japan. But it's a trademark look, so I guess that's why Mario never got rid of it. I love this little awkward exchange here. I mean, this is just, you know, Luigi's just precious in this film. Come on. I always get a bit of a weird, we're not there yet, but at the restaurant scene, I always get a bit of a weird mob film feel. Like, all of a sudden, a bit of The Godfather escaped into Super Mario Brothers. And I love it that there's a headline that's so blatantly referencing something that we see later in the movie. But like, yeah, this is Alan Silvestri's score, and I like this theme. You know, honestly, if there probably was at some point, but if there still is a Super Mario Brothers soundtrack CD somewhere, you know, I'd actually want that CD. And oh yeah, there was one, and there's a bit of the ending about the ending song I should probably mention later on. I think the most high-profile movie John Leguizamo had been in prior to this was like a 5-second appearance in Die Hard 2. But yeah, so none of this. You know, John Leguizamo, he did good after Super Mario Brothers. He was riding this gravy train all the way. I think you can tell it's the 90s. Everybody's wearing neck jewelry for some reason, even the Mario Brothers. We're going to learn why they're called the Mario Brothers in this movie as well. That's a cute little detail. Luigi's the only one who's wearing a cap for the first half of the movie, although he's wearing it backwards. I guess that's another thing that gives away that it's in the 90s. Oh, food. Food in movies always makes me hungry. And seeing characters eating in movies, it always makes me hungry. Oh, Daniela. Okay, Daniela. A lot of people think Daniela is this movie's version of Pauline, and Pauline, of course, was Mario's original girlfriend from Donkey Kong. But then, of course, that begs the question, why Daniela and why not Pauline? One possibility, of course, is that the filmmakers didn't know what her name was, but my guess is no, this has nothing to do with Donkey Kong. I think that's referencing way too back. It's more likely that because Samantha Mathis, young actress, John Leguizamo, young actor, obviously they're the romantic couple, but Mario's the one who always saves the princess, so it just makes sense that they should give Mario a love interest who's more his age. But Danielle, I love her. She's a great character in the film, and you know, this is I love this little. This is probably one of my favorite dialogue scenes in the whole movie. Probably. I mean, there's some solid acting going on here, for the most part. But yeah, it's the fact that it's in the middle of a Mario movie. I guess that's why people never appreciate it. And look at that. What the hell is Mario wearing? There's a cross and something. Everybody's wearing something around their neck. Daisy doesn't stand out with her piece of a meteorite. Oh yeah, but yeah, we covered Daniela. Yeah, Bob Hoskins with a mustache. I love it. Whenever he shaves off the mustache, he looks really mean. And I love anything with Iggy and Spike. Like I mean, especially Spike. Like, what the hell is up with that hairstyle? The early 90s were when hairstyles were kind of recovering from the 1980s, but they still weren't quite there yet. There's something about cars in this movie too. there's too many cars in a Mario movie. If Mario Kart was anything like this, it would have been much more, blatant Pepsi advertisement in the background. Although, with these kind of movies, you can never be really sure. Like, this wasn't before, like, product placement was a big deal. I mean, product placement has always been a big deal, but there was a lot of unintentional product placement in films as well. I mean, you accidentally pass a sign while you're shooting something. Things like that. I think this is about the most boring part in the whole movie, I'm sorry. I have absolutely nothing to say about it right now. But for the most part, it's pretty entertaining. Like, after all of this, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm afraid I'm going to run out of time then, when I actually run into something that I have to mention. I think Disney was somehow involved in the production of this movie, but if they were, and I'm not saying they were, but if they were, they've done a very good job of sort of breaking off any connections to this. I mean, I have absolutely no idea who owns the distribution rights for this film. And who was the production company, honestly. I've never heard of Light Motive. It's almost like this was a sort of almost a semi-independent production, in a way. It's still very professionally shot, but yeah, it did not set a good start for video game movies that were coming along. 1993, really not a good year for video game movies. Super Mario Bros. Was one, and Double Dragon followed it, which I think was released straight to video. Then next year, of course, was the Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme. That actually did pretty well. It's just its reputation since has sort of deteriorated. And then, of course, 95 was when the big one came, Mortal Kombat. I guess that kind of solidified that you could actually make a successful movie out of a video game. This is a cool set, by the way, these dinosaur things. But you can tell, like, this is just around the time of Jurassic Park. Like, everybody was crazy about dinosaurs. Now, I don't know if these are supposed to be dinosaurs that have sort of escaped through the portal from the other world. It's not called the Mushroom Kingdom, except in one point in the whole movie. It's just an alternate world. Koopa's world, I guess. But it's not really established, like, are these the bones of Daisy's mom? Probably not. So they're trying to flood the site. I'm not sure how if this would really work in real life. Like, wouldn't they just drain the water and they could just go back to digging? But yeah. Oh, I love this Bob Hoskins' intense acting. One of the few occasions, I think outside of the cartoons, where you actually see Mario doing some plumbing. Like a plumber. I think they could have done a better job with Luigi's wardrobe. Like, he doesn't wear a lot of green in this film. Not until he gets the costume. Like, that seemed to be a big deal in video game movies. You notice in the Street Fighter movie as well, that the characters getting their costumes is sort of like a big deal in the film. Like, that's a big momentous scene, usually. I've always kind of wondered what cave they were coming out of here. I suppose it's somewhere down... deep down, where they find the wall. And, the special effects on this movie are actually pretty good. It's just that CG was still sort of in its early stages at this point. Like, it was starting to get used a lot, but I don't think the technology had quite been perfected yet. There aren't any full 3D characters in this movie, though. At least as far as I can remember. And, this is something that always... Well, I guess that lamp, the cord is waterproof. Because I've always wondered, like, why didn't anybody get shocked when those lamps fall in the water? there's a big thing about people grabbing faces and eyes and there's pushing thumbs into eyes. Like, the characters in this movie are actually very sadistic. That's something that I've heard from people say, that one of the reasons this movie failed was because it wasn't that parents were afraid to take their kids to see this movie because they thought it was too dark. I don't think that's true, but I definitely, like, some of the characters are a little borderline, how would I put it? Inappropriate for a children's movie? Maybe. I think this is a bit of a role reversal, I guess. What we've come to expect, that Mario is the one who doesn't want to go the extra mile, and it's Luigi who's the courageous one. Like, Mario chickens out a little bit here. There's a big theme about Mario not having faith or something in this film. Again, not something that I would have expected from a Mario movie. We see once they jump through the wall here. It's kind of a weird moment. What are, how are Iggy and Spike really pulling her? Because there's that weird psychedelic in-between universe that they go through. And this theme too, I love this theme. Like, so Alan Silvestri, he treated this like a real movie score. He didn't treat it like oh man, we're doing a movie out of a video game. Okay. I just love this. Little bits of physical comedy. They go a long way, in my view. I mean, physical comedy, generally speaking, like, it works better than spoken comedy, usually, most of the time. Like here, this actually looks pretty good for early 90s CG effects. I think there's some traditionally made effects here too, but yeah, it's hard for me to say. Like, I didn't make the movie. One of the things Bob Hoskins complained about this movie was apparently they kept changing the script on almost a daily basis. Like, they couldn't figure out which way they wanted to go with the film. Yeah, we saw the little bit of the the meteorite there. We're gonna come back to it. That was what was shining there on the floor. Like, this was the point in the movie where I was completely lost. Like, what the heck happened? Like, where are they? Really? Because this really did not smell of the Mushroom Kingdom to me. Although you see a little bit of the fungus there already. Koopa Square. Okay, I guess now would be a good time to talk about why is he called Koopa. Oh, by the way, sign that says Twomp over there. But, why Koopa and not Bowser? I mean, we can understand Daisy and not Toadstool, maybe, but why then Koopa and not Bowser? And in case you didn't know, that in Japan, Bowser is called Koopa, just plain old Koopa. And so, to avoid, the obvious problems, like if the walls had been plastered with the name Bowser all over, and when they were dubbing this in Japanese, it would have caused much more problems if the character was called Bowser and not Koopa. So they thought, those are the two. That's the name that the character is known to have in both Western territories and Japan. So let's go with that one. And it reminds me of a little bit. Here we have our first little dinosaurs in the film, and it reminds me of another video game movie, the Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia as M. Bison. Like, anybody who knows anything about the Street Fighter movie knows that Bison, Balrog, and Vega actually had their names switched when the game came over from Japan to the US, and it's been changed ever since. But when they made the live-action movie, funny enough, they didn't change Bison's name back the way it was. So in the Street Fighter movie, Bison is Bison both in the West and Japan. So those are little cultural things that you have to get used to when dealing with certain video game movies, definitely. I guess that's why they avoided saying Bison a lot in the newer Street Fighter movie, or having anything that said Bison. Because that would have been, again, it would have been a problem. And here's Dennis Hopper, and in case you didn't notice from the previous scene, this weird haircut that he has it's very obviously the Max Headroom haircut. Sorry. The Max Headroom haircut. What did I say? Oh. Anyway, it's very obvious, that they were sort of channeling their all of their old they were referencing their previous work with this film. The architecture in Koopa's world is a little weird. You'll notice little cross shapes and checkerboard patterns. So they kind of did go to the game for some of the inspiration and set design and things like that. But it's perhaps not too consistent. I've heard that they built most of Koopa's world in an abandoned concrete factory. I don't remember where that location was, but you can tell that it's very industrial looking, and I guess that's a big that means a lot of this actually existed in real life, but that's generally the case with pre-digital movies. When I say pre-digital, I mean I'm talking about pre-episode 1 type films where after they found a way to make most of the sets digitally, though that none of it actually exists in the real world. That always makes me really hungry. I don't know what the hell's up with the guy's cap. It's transparent. Everybody has a very questionable fashion style in this dystopic universe. That's the weird thing about this movie. They went with a very, very, very dystopic sci-fi look for this movie. And I think, dystopic sci-fi really doesn't say Mario for me. Oh, this is so cheesy and over the top. For some reason, I just really like it. They're getting mugged by an old lady. Oh, and here we have Big Bertha making her entrance. Another character named after a Mario baddie. Big Bertha is the big fish in Super Mario Bros. 3. This is something that it didn't occur to me until far, far afterwards, and it's really weird. That's how many times I had to tells you that I've watched this movie countless times until it finally hit me. Oh yeah, they're all driving electric cars because there's no oil. Because dinosaurs turned into oil. Oh, Jesus. I guess these are supposed to be the Karimbo shoes from Super Mario Bros. 3. There's actually a lot of Mario 3 references in this. Not a lot of Super Mario World references. Well, I guess the dinosaur bit kind of covers that. Big Bertha, not a big character yet. There's another guy with a thwomp box. Mojo Nixon. He's an actual musician who plays Toad. And I suppose he wrote this song himself. I like him. He's a likable support character early on in the film. But of course he turns into a Goomba, and then it's weird with the Goombas. They're kind of like the complete opposite of what they're supposed to be in the game. In the game they have big heads and little bodies. Here they have little heads and big bodies. It might be I might be crazy. I think the police uniforms of the Koopa police here are. Oh yeah, here are the missing Brooklyn girls. Whether they were talking about early on in the film. I might be crazy, but I think the Koopa Police Force's uniforms are sort of loosely based on the Hammer Brothers armor. At least with the helmet and everything, it kind of seems that way, but, you know, I might be wrong. I do love these police cars, though. They're just crazy. They use a cable to brake. Like, that's an inconsistency, though. They do brake every once in a while, but then Mario insists that there are no brakes later in the film. It's just little continuity bugs, errors. They always kind of bug me. Oh, here's the monumental scene with... So why are they the Mario Brothers? Because their last name is Mario. I mean, this makes sense to me. This makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me, like, why would they be the Mario Brothers if one of them's Mario, one of them's Luigi? Would they be the Mario and Luigi Brothers? Which doesn't sound as good as Mario Brothers. So, it may not be the official explanation, but that's the explanation I'm going with. Because I find it the most believable that their last name also happens to be Mario. And now they're disinfecting them from the fungus, I guess. Yet the fungus is inside the prison as well, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They keep using these cattle prod thingies as weapons all through the film, and later we see these fire things. Oh, I actually, I hate to admit it, but I did laugh at this bit when I first saw the movie. It's so cheesy, but you know, it's this. I've proven time and again that I'm a fan of cheap gags. I love cheap gags. I mean, when you can make comedy out of something very, very, very simple, it's something that I like. We see those mugshots later in the film, by the way. I think these might be actual chicken coops that they're in. And there's this light hanging in there. I always wondered if that burns, if it's that close to his arm and stuff. I'm not sure if that's their attempt at trying to give off a little bit of the reminder of, oh yeah, by the way, Toad was a mushroom in the game because of the swirly haircut. The swirly spiral buzz haircut. I wonder if he did that willingly for the role, or was it his own idea, or did the filmmakers tell him, we're going to be doing this to your hair? It's an office without a ceiling. And they have clean wipes in Koopa's dimension as well. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a hint that Koopa and company have actually been coming back through the portal time and again, because, you know, so much of the technology is so similar. But now I'm trying to justify the movie too much, because, you know, it's about dinosaurs that have evolved into humans. Which is just really retarded. Although it makes sense to me, like, for, you know, Koopa to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex. There's a little bit of in the Devo Chamber, a little bit of a continuity issue. I wouldn't say it's an error, but it's an issue and a problem, something that always bugs me, but we'll talk about it later. Oh yeah, we're about to see Dennis Hopper trying to poke out the eyes of John Leguizamo. Oh, a little detail, by the way. It's a true and tried method in films. When you want a character to look weird, you shave his eyebrows. That's exactly what they did with Dennis Hopper here. And everybody has shiny ties. I don't know what the hell's that's about. I mean, I thought the double tie that Doc Brown had in Back to the Future, I can't help but mention Back to the Future again, looked pretty retarded, but that... But everything seems to be covered in plastic or latex or whatever, and it looks really, really disturbing for some reason. There's something I did find out. Actually, a bit of this scene was cut out. which is they de-evolve Toad, and then just to make his point more than all the more physical or notable, Koopa de-evolves another one of his henchmen and turns him into basically like a primordial sludge, the same thing that he turns into at the end of the movie. So, green sludge. And you'll see once the Mario Brothers escape, there is a puddle of green slime on the floor. And I wonder why they cut that out. I'm not sure. My best guess would be that perhaps there was something about the special effects that didn't work, but the fact that the green stain is on the floor when they escape, to me indicates that they did shoot that scene, but it's never been released, and I don't know if the footage still exists. But I've seen storyboards of it, and yeah. Toad becomes a good Goomba. He doesn't look quite as well, he does have the big jaw. Like some of the Goombas have reptilian heads, and others have this weird little egg head. There we saw Bowser's or Koopa's evolution in the back. He always has those hands kind of hunched up. Like he holds those hands kind of like he would be a T-Rex, which is kind of weird. I don't know what the head shake is all about. We see the head shake being done a lot by these reptilian characters in the film. It's kind of weird and creepy in its own way, but again, it's just a funny little detail. It doesn't add anything to the film. I think the guy in the red hat who helped Toad get up might be the guy who got smudged or turned into sludge. We notice he's missing in this next scene. Yeah, and you see the chair is clearly covered in goop, and the floor's covered in goop. So I guess he just put that unsuspecting employee. And this is the other bit that doesn't make sense. I think. Oh, I didn't look, but I think Luigi turned the switch to Jurassic. Yet Koopa does not change. So either he was supposed to start changing, and they couldn't afford the effects, so they just did that. Or my guess is that the alternative is that Koopa lied about his heritage. Well, he does turn into a T-Rex later in the film, but I think it might be a gag. It might be the Bob-omb. I love the Bob-omb, but it might have been just to insinuate that Koopa is not as evolved as he makes it out to be. We also see a little bit of his reptilian qualities pushing through in his scene with Daisy, which in its own way is creepy and weird. Excuse me. Oh yeah, we saw that there was a lizard, sort of reptilian-headed Goomba there. I don't know why that lady there. I know it's not her because she's not in the credits, but it always seemed like that extra somehow reminded me of Whoopi Goldberg. A bit with the Doors. Really quick, really cheap. Kind of works. Physical comedy always works for me. And of course, they steal one of the cars. Oh, but this is something I hate. I hate it because they do this in video game films once in a while. I always hate it, is that they make a reference to video games. Like right here, Luigi's about to say how he knows how to do this because he's yeah. Of course you learn to hack computers by playing video games. First of all, that's giving way too much credit to video games. Secondly, it's just dumb. I don't think if you're making a video game movie, you're treading on very thin ice to begin with. You don't need to sort of exasperate your problems with it by implying that the characters in your video game movie play video games. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Oh, here come the mugshots again. Classic reaction. Oh my god, Bob Hoskins really looked awful there in that picture. Uh, just something. There's a particular Koopa sign I gotta point out once it comes. I think we're about to see the Thwomp sign again. Thwomp was like the most overused character name here. Like, this is a good point to have an argument as well. You're being chased by police. I think this is a little bit dumb. Also, a lot of the people you notice either have questionable clothes or they have those reptilian things. I don't know what that's about. I think for whatever extras they couldn't afford to, or didn't have time to put makeup on, they just have them wear weird clothes. Okay? A lot of pyrotechnics. Like, this next scene coming up has probably the most pyrotechnics in the whole movie. It's crazy. But then again, so is this movie. I think these flamethrower guns are just really ineffective. I mean, the ones that the Goombas used shot like balls of fire, but these are... Okay, they took each other out. This really dumb gag. A police car against a giant ball of flame. Bob Hoskins just looks really crazy. Would you honestly expect to see this in a Mario movie? I mean, this is so insane. I mean, but they do reference a lot. The Koopa Desert, is a location. Another reference to Super Mario Bros. 3. I'm beginning to notice that there's not quite that many references to Super Mario Bros. 1. Well, we did hear the Mario theme at the beginning. Well, here's the Koopa Desert sign, just to make sure where we are. Oh, I love the booger gag, but okay, that came out really bad. I love the booger gag. The gag with the booger doesn't sound any better, so I'll just shut up. But yeah, there aren't a lot of references to Super Mario Bros. 1 here. I mean, they technically reference Super Mario Land with Daisy, because that's where Daisy was introduced. Super Mario World with Yoshi. Super Mario Bros. 3 has been referenced several times already. But there's actually a bit of a reference to Super Mario Bros. 2 in this, and we'll see it in a while. And Mario is not amused. Koopa in a mud bath. Lena is another character that a lot of people try to imply is... Oh, by the way, did you notice that Iggy and Spike's clothes, because they obviously stole them, they still have the price tags on them. And there's something hanging from their necks, too. Like, everybody has something hanging from their neck. There's a bit cannibalistic, like there's a little lizard thing that Lena drinks out of a glass later on. Yeah, and that was a real snake that she had around her hand. Oh yes, this actress, by the way, of course you'll all recognize from Harry Potter. I forgot. I also forgot her name, but it'll come to me, I think. Fiona Shaw, I think. Possibly. Oh yeah, this is a very Mario-esque scene. Not. They kind of exasperate the whole Daisy thing with the dress. The color scheme's a bit more peach than Daisy, to be honest. Oh yeah, and this is a weird turnaround. I honestly wasn't expecting this, so I guess it works as a surprise moment, but at the same time it's kind of lame. Because I expected them to turn into dinosaurs or something. Instead, he just makes their brains bigger. I'm not sure. It's sort of implied, but that Koopa, like they said, that Iggy and Spike themselves say later in the film that they were actually opposed to Koopa. But it's sort of implied that Koopa intentionally turned them stupid so that they would follow him. I haven't done the math to confirm if that calculation was actually correct. He's very reluctant to have his brain turned bigger, having his IQ returned, kind of like the reverse of Batman Forever. And you see a lot of signage and things, like they put a lot of effort into this film, but this definitely looks like it was inside a cement factory or something. They also become a little... I'm even afraid to say, because I think I'm going to get into trouble for saying it. But again, Spike, they turn a little, fabulous. Well... Oh, and here's the dress. Here's the dress. I mean, they have very sort of atmospheric camera work, a lot of moving camera actually. There's also a few. There aren't that many, but there's a couple of kind of shaky camera scenes. I'm not a big fan of those. Daisy's father is played by one of my favorite actors, actually. And we'll see at the end of the movie who he is. You know, much of the movie he's a mushroom. Or a fungus. This is actually one of my favorite scenes. They're just arguing there in the desert. Mary is very angry in this movie. I always notice that. Oh, and this thing, of course, is the Super Scope, which was the light gun peripheral for the Super Nintendo. I don't think it ever became that popular. I mean, everybody knew the Zapper, but I don't know that many people that had the Super Scope, honestly. So it's basically just a pimped out Super Scope. And you get a Devo gun. A de-evolution gun. There's a thing about monkeys that gets repeated over time. And here is probably one of my favorite creature effects in the whole movie. We'll see the tail. Very soon we'll see the creature. And who could it be? Well, it's Yoshi. I mean, Yoshi's adorable. I mean, this looks... I mean, this is really, really good work for this movie. Now, I've actually heard countless times that Yoshi is not a dinosaur. That he's a dragon, which I don't buy, but whatever. This is about the closest character-wise that I think the game and the movie meet. And he actually does have Yoshi's sort of key ability. We'll see what that is later on in the film. Oh, by the way, we see the model of the city in the background. And of course, it has the Twin Towers, which of course now is a bit iffy. It wasn't back then, but now of course it's a bit iffy. Koopa's jacket is really weird. It's like made out of scales or something. I just love it. The idea if he's actually had to kill another dinosaur and use his skin to make this jacket. Like, would a human dinosaur wear crocodile boots? I mean, I guess it's the big question here. And here we start to see some of those weird reptilian effects. This one looks really, really gnarly. That tongue is just, oh god, that tongue is just too much. This next one doesn't look quite as good, but it's still it's creepy. I mean, that's the effect. Koopa comes off very pervy and very creepy. And that's Toad. Oh, yeah, that's why the accordion's there, is to basically tell us whenever it's Toad. Oh, Toad's voice, by the way, done by Frank Welker. I think Frank Welker might actually be Yoshi's voice, too. I mean, the man is a limitless pit of talent, honestly. A bottomless pit of talent, really. This thing is, I guess, an actual desert traversing vehicle. Kind of looks like a pimped out moon buggy. Can't imagine that it actually travels very fast. That's a gag stop that doesn't really work for me. Oh yeah, these guys have like the most juvenile insults ever. Or rather, Luigi has, and you know, it's weird. Like these guys are using sort of more a highbrow, multi-syllable insults. Luigi does butt breath and stuff like that. At this point, they're still on Koopa's side. But then they switch sides once they get arrested. Or actually, they switch sides already at the bar. They have to make these creepy noises when they turn their necks, too. Oh, yes, and we're going to the Boom Boom Bar. Boom Boom, of course. Another Super Mario Bros. 3 reference. So, the mini-boss in the fortress levels in Super Mario Bros. 3. Aerial shot of, I guess that could be a digital city. It could be a model, too. I'm not sure. Oh, it's definitely digital. Yeah. That zoom, they couldn't have done that with a model. Or if they did, that is some extreme model work. This is just an adorable scene with Yoshi. I don't know what's up with the lighting, though. It has a weird yellow hue. I've never been a big fan of that. Like I said, Samantha Mathis, great actress, but I think there's like a Statue of Liberty over there. It's kind of weird. And finally, we have the Super Mario Bros. 2 reference. So these are snippets. They're actually called that. How rare. Although they only resemble snippets insofar as the mask is concerned. Other than that, they're just garbage workers, I guess. Using the plunger as a weapon. That's just classic. Those noises that they make. There's a bit of a mystery still there. Like, yeah, they don't show the face, but now they're obviously wearing the masks. I'm again finding there's not enough Mario stuff going on screens to talk about. In the club, we're gonna see some weird Mario things. There's some footage of Super Mario World running in the background in one of the big screens. Oh god, I hate these. Okay, these suits are just really stupid, I have to say. Oh, there was a guy with a red cap, red shirt, blue pants, and suspenders. Just to the right as before they zoomed in on Mario and Luigi. Never noticed that before. Oh yeah, this is a great reveal. She drops it in, and what should we see? A wanted poster. How could you miss that? Come on. There's another guy with a red cap. I guess this is where they started to kind of try and hide a little bit of Mario references in there. $100 coupons, it says there. Oh man, that's dumb, dumb joke. There was a lady with spikes on her butt, dancing. Okay, that's kind of dumb, I have to say. Big Bertha looking not too bad. Here's Mario trying to hit on a woman. She hits back. Sorry, that was lame. Oh, this is a badly done shot because you can hear Luigi just off camera. Like, honestly, they couldn't just, shoot Luigi saying okay. And this is a weird, Mario actually has like two little, two women on the, in this film, really. There's Daniela and then there's Big Bertha. I'm sure if they had made a sequel, if they would have brought back Big Bertha. And, well, to say something about the costume department, I don't think Iggy and Spike are looking too good either. Some slow dancing. Oh, we had a couple full of makeup start dancing just behind. Well, they're not there anymore, but they were dancing just. Oh, yes, they are. This is cheesy, but I love it. Yeah, I was talking about the soundtrack CD. There was a soundtrack CD, but it was only for these songs that were, the music that played, the independent music that played in the film. It wasn't for the movie compositions. It showed a little bit of something in the background. I'm not sure if that was for Mario, though. Oh, this is Walk the Dinosaur. But this is not the original Walk the Dinosaur. No, that was made by Was Not Was, I think is the band. And they made a new version specifically for this movie. Actually, I actually approve of this piece of music because I actually like the original Walk the Dinosaur. It's probably one of my favorite late 80s pop songs. And it's a decent cover. But it is a cover. It's not the original thing. Well, that's a pretty tight situation. There's a pretty bad geography here, though, in this club scene when they're trying to run away. Like, they're having too much trouble, like, getting characters in the same scene, so we could see what's actually going on, continuity-wise. I think this is like the shoddiest the movie's gotten so far in the shot continuity sense. Those cartridges, you didn't see them too well there, but you're gonna see later on They're actually bullet bills. I think I'm gonna point them out later on. Oh yeah, and the Bob-omb's coming back. And here are the boots. Oh, that might have been a blue screenshot. I don't think they could have done it otherwise. If they'd done it with cables or something, they would have had to gotten rid of them. I'm not sure if at this point they had a good technology for doing that. Well, there's the Bob-omb. I do like the Bob-omb though. It's one very obvious thing that they took from the game and put in the movie. They could have had more things like that in the movie. It would have probably done the movie some good. I think that truck. I think they should have missed that truck by all laws of logic. The time Mario took to notice it, say slush truck, and only then did they jump. I'm not sure what they were trying to do with Mario. They're two words impossible. Come on. Oh, and here we have the Fungus, and this is another one of my favorite scenes in the film. Actually, like, it's Koopa coming to taunt the Fungus. I mean, it's addressed to a character, but it's technically a monologue scene. I mean, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, even in slightly questionable video game movies like this one, there are those moments. There are those moments where the characters just stop to talk, and they do a really good job. Like you can tell, Dennis Hopper. This is a legit actor doing this. Koopa looks like he's from a mobster film. Again, what did I say? The movie seems to have like a big mobster film feel, really. You can try. Yeah. He said it. I talked over it. Oh God. But he did call the place Mushroom Kingdom, but it was more of a derisive comment. I don't know why they're dumping the garbage in front of Koopa's tower. There might be a scene missing there explaining it, but come on. The building always looks much shorter from this angle for some reason. Python Pizza. No relation to Monty Python. I think you can hear the one-up sound effect in the background at some point. Oh, it might have been a different scene. Sorry. I know you hear it somewhere, but I haven't seen this movie. Street Fighter the movie, I could quote line for line, honestly. I should do that commentary where I just quote every single line from the movie. Oh, that would be the worst commentary ever. Oh God, that's such a dumb joke. But this pays off. This part pays off. Later in the movie, they actually do a pretty good chase scene with this, where they freeze the pipes. Oh yeah, and we're building up to the Mario Brothers finally getting their costumes. I mean, we've seen a lot of references, but yes, going back once again to Shigeru Miyamoto's thoughts on the movie, it would have been better if this hadn't been a Mario movie. If this had been just a generic adventure movie about two plumbers rescuing the other one's potential future girlfriend from dinosaurs that evolved into humans, yeah, it would have been a pretty good movie. But instead they decided, hey, this is going to be a Mario movie. Oh yeah, and we're going to have to get another Mario reference in a while. But here we have the costumes. And Luigi's still wearing his cap backwards. You'll also notice it's a baseball cap and not the, the classic cap, which is what Mario is wearing. It's a bit flat, I have to say. It's a bit flat and doesn't have an M on it. I mean, this is really dumb, but on one hand, it does reflect the Koopas really, or the Goombas really well. I want to call them Koopas, but I know they're not Koopas, they're Goombas. He's Koopa. Yeah, Spike just pointed him out. He's Koopa. Those are Goombas. Take them away. Oh, that was That was what you would call a Freudian slip. But I don't think it has a place in a Mario movie. And there's some okay writing in this movie too. Like, I mean, the plot is actually basic Mario stock. There are some genuinely good dialogue moments in this film, but yeah, overall, it's the fact that it's a Mario movie still kind of ruins it. Am I being too harsh here? Like, I'm trying to give these sort of mixed compliments to this film. Oh yeah, here it comes. This melody is the underwater theme from Super Mario Bros. 1. Now, what I want to know is who's singing it and what are the lyrics. Because it blows my mind that they actually use source music from the game in this way. I mean, this is a dumb gag, which is why I like it, but the point is, here we have actual Mario music in a Mario movie. I mean, God, who... I've watched the credits over. I honestly don't know who did this. And how did they get that old-timey sound to it? Oh, here's one of my favorite lines coming up. It's a dumb line, but I like it. Oh, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat anything with a face. Well, I guess fish are okay then, because they don't have they have heads, but they don't have faces. At least not in my eyes. Lena's about to pull a knife out of her ass crack. In a minute. Sorry. I always wonder if that door actually locked in any way. Because this is what Lena just did. You can see it. I mean, you can see it right there in her ass crack. But Daisy didn't see it. How could you not see it? Come on, it's right there. Oh, one thing I didn't notice is that it's actually hanging from her neck, or sort of her dress. Okay, and here's Yoshi's tongue action. Way to go, Yoshi! There you go. Eat that bitch's leg. And here comes, dinosaur abuse. But now disconnected. Now the thing disconnected from her dress. Scenes in hallways where people run. They always look good. Especially against music. I don't know why, though. It's probably the perpetual motion, which is the key. Here we see the two Goomba heads together. I mean, this guy is so obviously Frank Welker. I mean, you can just tell. Excuse me. And a regular old fire extinguisher in Koopa's fortress. I would have suspected that they shoot fire or something. They would have at least been black or something. Like that's just such an obvious fire extinguisher. It just looks like it's just a regular fire extinguisher. No mystery here. So they can't fire those guns apparently without taking a hold of their hostages or their prisoners. And here Toad begins helping Daisy escape. Time to run. Now Spike just said they've been with his father ever since his demise, but He's not dead, he's just turned into fungus. This is another huge set. I think they had to have built they had to have built this in the sort of the same parts of the the cement factory as the de-evolution room. You'll notice the walls are all white and things like that. I really have to question Luigi's logic there. Because everybody loves to dance. Well, not everybody. But Goombas, apparently. And there's another part, is Mario hates heights. Well, I guess that's why he's a blummer. Okay, this bit is so dumb that even I don't like it. I have to confess, like, this is just too much. There, like, how did Luigi not notice he got caught in a hook? How is it possible for him to get hooked like that? How could Mario not notice it? There's too many continuity problems there. A few continuity problems I'm willing to tolerate. There's too many logic problems here. I gotta question Mario's logic. Like, how do you high five? Oh, well, never mind. Yoshi's coming back. You're not getting me out of the movie that easy. Also, this pointer technology, it's really weird how it comes around. We see her use the pointer in a minute. Oh, poor Yoshi. Got the spike. He's got that spike on his neck. Ouch! I mean, the puppeteering on Yoshi is excellent. It's great. It's weird how this pointer thing comes around because of the Wii and everything now. And it's been around with Nintendo for a long time. Seems. Although this kind of looks pretty low tech now, but I guess I have to give them credit for making it very simple. I hate it in movies where they try to do computers and they make them really, really flashy. And the end result is that after a couple of years, when that technology is available or outdated, it just looks silly. Uh-oh. He knows what you're doing. Just a reminder of the scene that's coming up with the frozen ventilation shafts. That's one of the things in movies, by the way, the ventilation shafts. Just how friggin' big they are. I mean, these guys, they're standing up straight. Well, they're in an alternate reality, or alternate universe, parallel universe. So, that makes sense. That would seem like a really easy way to escape, though. Koopa hasn't thought of this security thing all the way through. Lena's betrayal is about to be revealed. There's this one police chief that asked Mario and Luigi their name, and he keeps cropping up all through the movie. I've never checked his name, though, or who the actor is, or what his character's supposed to be called. It's weird. Because he's practically in through most of the movie. I mean, this glump that's coming out is really supposed to be the king, or because that's the part that turns human at the end of the film. Mario is still in a state of disbelief, even after everything that they've seen. Talking to the mildew in the shower. Yep. I expected Mario to get really, really pissed at that point. I mean, he's been so angry for much of this movie. Like now it's personal. They kidnapped my girlfriend. I love that line, by the way. I don't know why, but I just love hi ho mammals. Like, how many times in your life have you ever got to say hi ho mammals? And it's one of those dumb little things I just like. I like monkey. I've always wondered what's up with the sign, because it only shows H and closing, not station closing. The S and the T are missing. Or rather, the sign stops short of the S and the T. I wonder why Lena came in here. Like, is this supposed to be leading to the meteorite? Again, you got a little bit of a mob movie feel there. I love that one girl was trying to, I guess, get heat off the other girl's cigarette. Oh, that's just so dumb. Of course, they're coloring. Yeah, the whole cold-blooded, warm-blooded thing about dinosaurs. Big mystery. But, that works for the joke. Now I'm trying to justify the jokes. Never mind. I think she's the one who's from Queens. All the others are from Brooklyn. Like, but really, it begs the question, like, how dumb are Iggy and Spike? Like, how far off did they go? But then again, I think the bigger question would be, how come Daisy never moved out of the Big Apple? Oh yeah, she lived in a monastery, in a nunnery for much of her life, or in an orphanage. So I guess that explains it. It would have been really inconvenient for the bad guys if she moved away. Alright, this is the scene that's coming up. I can't wait for it, honestly. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Like, you can see the cuffs on the guy. It's covered in latex or something. I don't know. Dennis Hopper is excellent here. And just regular old handcuffs, nothing special. Not even spikes around the handcuffs. That would have been cool. And that's a lot of Goombas. This gag with the pizza, I honestly don't think it works. It's too obvious. We can all see the punchline coming from a mile away. But this I like. This I like because it's almost like they were predicting Super Mario 64 was going to happen. Of course, Mario didn't use a mattress in that one, but point is, slip sliding away. I mean, it's shot a little awkwardly. I think you can see the board. They have a what do they call that? Is that what they call a boogie board? Might be. I'm not sure. But there's a board under the mattress that's with wheels on it, which is what they're using to get this mattress to move. They're shaking the camera, and they're trying to make it look fast. I think at times it doesn't look that fast, but at times it does look pretty good. But I don't know. I think it's the music. The music sells it, for me at least. I mean, this looks dumb. It looks a little gross too. That's the only part about it. It wouldn't mind the speed, but then the fact that they gained that much momentum that they were able to fly over the gap. And here they go. Or rather, here we go! Sorry. The late Captain Lou Albano, I think, actually set the mold for Mario's performance in this one. Well, that was a pizza joke, by the way. I missed it because I talked over it. Oh, there you see it. There's the bullet bill. It's actually the charge for the Stomper shoes. Oh, that's a bad laugh. I don't know why. What the hell was Dennis Hopper doing there? About the crowds, I've heard that there are Nintendo executives hidden in some of these scenes, but I've certainly never been able to pick them out if they are. Funny enough, Shigeru Miyamoto is not one of the people making a cameo in this film. He's doing his Mario doing his little Tarzan bit here. Ouch. One of the dumbest things, like I said, fans try to find connections. And yes, there are connections in this movie to the game. But then there are some instances where I think fans are trying too hard to find connections where there clearly aren't any. And one of them is this thing that Koopa's hanging from. Oh, the poster back there. You saw Koopa with a chainsaw. And that, I think, is a reference to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, where Dennis Hopper starred in. So they did. I guess the filmmakers did that as a nice little favor for Dennis Hopper. I mean, he's a legendary actor. I guess they decided to give him some extra bit here. Oh, you see a little bit of a stubble coming on Luigi's lip there. By the end of the movie, the stubble is more noticeable. Like, okay, so Luigi didn't have a mustache for much of the movie, but he does at the very end. But yeah, like I said, fans like to look for connections to the Mario game. And a lot of people seem to think that thing that Mario was hanging from and where Koopa was is supposed to be the clown car from not the clown car, but the clown copter from Super Mario World, which it clearly isn't. It's an actual piece of construction equipment. And if any of you have seen the James Bond movie On Her Majesty's Secret Service, you see that exact same thing being used in normal everyday life. It must have been really hot with all the sparks there. That's actually one of my favorite posters. It's Koopa with a chainsaw. It makes no sense, but, it looks great. Oh, I love the reaction here. It's a bomb. This bomb, though, is a lot smaller than in the game. But I still like it. I mean, I would die if I would love to have one of those for myself. One more bit of sort of intentional, clearly intentional product placement is that the Bob-omb toy, or the Bob-omb, has actually the Reebok logo at the bottom of its feet. But it's still going. You can't stop me. This is a really nice effect. I like backlighting. And lightning bolts are still something that they have to do by hand in movies, even to this day. Because apparently you cannot generate a random enough pattern with just a computer to create a lightning bolt. Well, I don't know, actually. Maybe they have found a way to do that. Oh, I love that a little bit. Oh, I love that a little bit with the skeleton, though. These are very simple effects. Painted on effects and backlighting. Out here we have actual CG. You know what? It looks pretty good. Now he's doing his proper villainous laugh. That always looks a little creepy. It works. It works great. Yeah, there we go. That was where that was the World Trade Center. Like I said, a bit iffy now. Wasn't that iffy back then. And it's actually kind of weird that Koopa ended up modeling the city after himself, or after the New York. And now he turns into a chimp. Oh, a little bit of a mistake there. You still see Dennis Hopper shaking after Scapelli's already turned into a monkey. That's something that didn't quite work out in the movie. It's another cheap gag, but it gets a laugh. Yeah, Scapelli was an asshole. He got what he deserved. However, this to me doesn't make sense that the fungus just grows from being shot at with the Devo gun. I think that too should have turned into sludge or something. I don't know, they had to justify it somehow. The spinning heads, I don't know what that's about. And it's still going. I want to know how they pulled this shot off, honestly. Because it's obviously there. The car is obviously there. I mean, that has to be one of... I mean, that's a scene that they really, really had to work to get right. To make that car stop on a dime just before it would have hit the Bob-omb toy. It's not I don't think it's an expensive prop, but still, it seems like a really hard thing to do. And now, Toad starts playing the underwater theme. That's awesome. I mean, you can tell more clearly now that it's the underwater theme, and the melody is so obvious. And it's still going. And Koopa has really bad aim, as we are about to notice, or to see. Yeah. Burned down his own poster. Oh, it's really burning in the background. And now he's starting to change. These morphing effects are pretty good. The only thing that doesn't work for me are the beams. The beams look really cheap and tacked on. Well, here's the Reebok logo. It kind of been turned reptilian there, but he's still not a dinosaur. So it doesn't really make sense to me that he suddenly changes over there. Well, I guess we know he doesn't turn into sludge immediately either, so it takes a little while. That was actually a puppet, I think. It's hard to tell. I think it's a puppet that has some CG added on to it. Here it's obviously CG. Goes through different mutations and then it's slime. At first CG slime and then real sludge. Oh yeah, now we get to see... Actually, Luigi does a very Mario-esque salute to everybody. It's the victory sign there. That's usually Mario who does it, but yeah, it works either way. We're about to have some moving character moments in a minute. Big celebration, and of course... they're wiping away the poster. Oh, man. And, the Koopas are dancing again. Or Goombas are dancing again. And here we have him. Ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Lance Henriksen. Oh, I would have wished that they would have made a sequel to this, just so that Lance Henriksen could have come back. I mean, Lance Henriksen really classes up any movie he's in, even if he's in it for for about less than a minute. Again, here we have very nice effects, and they're nice because they're simple. I mean, this isn't too showy or anything. I love Lena's skeleton there. It's still there. Yeah, she really needs to learn to know Lance Henriksen better. I mean, but this is a genuinely sad moment. Like, she's not coming... They saved the girl, but she's not coming with them. This is kind of similar. Everyone knows... Most people know about the anime movie... Well, I say movie very loosely, but it was theatrically released. Sort of a 60-minute anime of Mario. Where Mario kind of got jilted at the end, too. He went through all that trouble to save the princess and then Peach. And then she ends up with a prince instead. I guess the people who made that anime didn't have much faith in a relationship between Mario and a princess. A plumber and a princess. Actually, he wasn't a plumber in that. He ran a general store with Luigi. Who was yellow, by the way. I didn't like that. But I do like Yoshi. I like Yoshi. Yoshi's cute. And again, if they're going through that psychedelic universe, how is he able to just come back and pull Luigi with him, in there with him? I mean, it's a cool sequence when they pull them through, but it causes a bit of a continuity problem. Oh, this is another thing I hate. I hate it when they try to push the title into the film. I mean, it works sometimes. Like with the Resident Evil movies, they always try to have those words "biohazard" in there somewhere because for the Japanese audiences, obviously, because Resident Evil is called Biohazard in Japan. But here they're trying to push the Super Mario Brothers into the film. Oh yeah, there's this little handshake that they do. Oh yeah, and they set up this joke, or set up this thing for the sequel, which never came. It's a shame. Oh, and the final song, Roxette's Hocus Pocus. Originally, this movie was intended for another film. It got replaced, and it wound up being used here. Roxette wasn't happy that their song was used because they did this for another movie. But I don't mind personally. It's a nice way to go out on the movie because it's a really good song. And stick around after the credits. There's one last extra scene, but I'm signing off now. So this has been TheHande Mäkinen. I hope you enjoyed this commentary with me, and see you on the next one.